Hey, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy Cool Man Jimmy here, and welcome back, and I mean back, to RPG Speak. I know it's been a while since I've done this, and I blame life. Um, the last few months have been very interesting and complicated, so I have not had time to actually do this, but I do now. Um, so before we get off, you probably hear like a humming in the background. It's probably relatively loud. And that is because I currently have like three freaking fans going because my water heater in my house decided to break on me. So my bedroom, which is in the basement, the carpet is quite wet, and we cannot do anything about it until it is fixed. Which is funny, considering they came here and replaced the entire freaking thing, and they made that one leak. And I just, it's a good thing we rent this place because we don't have the money for this. I don't have the money for this. My parents don't have the money for this. Nobody in my family has the money for this. But yeah, I apologize for the fan buzzing sound in the background. It pisses me off too. Don't worry. So for those of you who don't know what RPG Speak is, it's basically a podcast that I do. I try to do every Wednesday, which hasn't really worked out for me. But I try to do this every Wednesday, or as many Wednesdays as I possibly can. And it's basically the place where I just kind of sit around, fuck around, talk about RPG stuff like D&D, Deadlands, talk about some new role-playing games that have come out and whatnot. This is basically just a place for any nerd of any type to come just listen in on the news, just basically listen to the news within the RPG world, and I will occasionally try to have guests on. I know Renavion from Damsel and Dingbats has been interested in doing this with me. Luck and T from Idiot Gaming Core, they want to do this for me. They're actually part of my Deadlands group. So there's plenty of people who want to come on here and do this with me. It's just an issue with resources and being able to get them on, because we're not able to do it in person a lot, or at all, because we all have different schedules, and one of us is in a completely different fucking state for a while. So I've been trying to figure out a way to get Skype calls going and whatnot to record their end and my end, because right now Audacity only records my end. I can make it to where it records their end, but it won't record my end, and there's this whole process I would have to do, and it's just difficult. Which is one of the biggest reasons why you guys don't see me do multiplayer gameplay. You never saw me do multiplayer gameplay for a while, unless it was Minecraft, is because I just didn't have the resources to talk to people on Skype and record them at the same time, because I don't like using the Xbox live chat, not because I think it's terrible, but it's just easier to use Skype, for me at least. I also don't use Discord because fuck Discord. It's a pain in the bitch. But anyways, yes, that is what RPG Speak is. Me talking about latest role-playing games, telling some stories about my role-playing experience and some of the upcoming stuff that's supposed to be happening within the role-playing world. Now, the first thing I want to cover today is something that was just announced yesterday. And this isn't a massive, it's not a massive game. It's the Star Wars Force and Destiny role-playing game. The Unlimited Power expansion just came out for it. It was just announced yesterday. And this is the official statement from the release. Limited Power, an all-new sourcebook focused on the mystic career path in the Star Wars Force and Destiny role-playing game, is available now at your local hobby retailer or in the Fantasy Flight game online store. The Star Wars galaxy is as much a realm of magic and mysticism as it is science and technology, and the mystic career path has allowed players the opportunity to explore less traditional ways of communing with the Force. Unlimited Power opens up in 3 new specializations, doubling the number of options available for 2 mystics in your campaign. More than just a supplement of 4 mystic characters, Unlimited Power adds 3 new species to your Force and Destiny campaigns, as well as new force powers, gear, vehicles, and adventure possibilities. Unlimited Power also details the precarious path to the dark side should a player's mortality fail, and he or she succumb the temptation of power at the cost of all else. Now, I personally have never played this game. I would like to play this game, but it is a little bit too expensive for me, as a lot of these things are. Roleplay, you guys, tabletop gaming isn't cheap. Because, I mean, I game Deadlands, and Deadlands isn't exactly an extremely well-known role-playing game, to my knowledge at least. But when I bought the core rulebook and the monsters book and shit, and like an expansion for it, that shit altogether cost me like $50, probably 60. I don't know. I'll have to check. But yeah, it was not cheap. Role playing is not a cheap thing. Yeah, this does seem like a fun role playing game, especially with this new release. I'm pumped to try it out at some point, because I will be trying this out at some point, and probably recording it and posting it for all of you beautiful, beautiful people. So yeah, I recommend you guys go check all this stuff out. All the links will be in the description below, considering all of these will be posted to YouTube. And before I go on, I would like to say that this first episode will be posted to my main channel, Cool Man Majama, and it will also be posted to the RPG Speak podcast channel itself. So don't forget to go subscribe to both of those if you have not already, and follow both of them on the Twitters. And next we have something that kind of piqued my interest. It's the Heroes of Astaria fantasy RPG up on Kickstarter. And this is the exact read from the campaign. Silent Games brings you his Heroes of Astaria, a fantasy role-playing game aimed at tabletop gamers of just about any skill level. This game uses its own unique D6 system. In short, we propose to release a fun, action-oriented game that's packed with tons of colorful options. With your support, we can make this happen. This product will come in both light version and full version. The light version will include the 5 core rulebooks. The full version will include the 5 core rulebooks, 2 playmats, 40 hero sheets, 40 enemy sheets, 40 ability/trait cards, combat guide, dice, and 216 shards, which are just punch-out tokens, to represent characters, status effects, treasure, wounds, and more. This game will include 40 powerful hero classes, astrologists, engineers, ninjas, and more. They've got the primary subclass system with 200 traits and 18 feats to rank up. It's a dynamic D6-based combat system. Be prepared for some wild combat where just a few dice rolls can shift the tide of the battle. Localized damage and wounds, colorful status effects, they've got a crafting system which is really kick-ass to me. It's simple, fun, and robust. You can brew potions, craft bullets and arrows, or build gadgets. There's a monster creation kit, and there's NPC and treasure generators, unique items and keepsakes like cherry bombs, voodoo dolls, icicle stakes, stardust flasks, mechanical fireflies, and so on. It has 25 diverse weapons: swords, hammers, axes, bows, guns, staves, orbs, shrunken heads, battle wrenches, bladed guitars, and even more. There's a mini sample campaign, the Game Master tools. There's Game Master tools. There's role-playing tips, a campaign creator, a loyalty system, bonus tokens, Descent into Madness system, and so much more. Holy shit! I'm excited for this. If this becomes a thing, you can bet your ass I'm going to be getting this. This seems fucking amazing. And it's their own thing. Like, it's not like an expansion to Dungeons and Dragons or any other role-playing game. It is their own role-playing game, and I feel some people might say it's not unique because it's like Dungeons and Dragons, and there are expansions to Dungeons and Dragons that will allow you to have certain things like guns. There's a gunslinger class in I don't know which expansion it is. My Dungeons and Dragons knowledge is a little limited right now. Considering I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons in like 2 months, and I haven't done anything involving Dungeons and Dragons for even longer. But it's just amazing. Like, I mean, come on, bladed guitars. How much more badass can you get than that? I know somebody who would be really interested in that. You know who I'm talking about. Actually, there's probably a lot of people that would be interested in that I know, and you all know who I'm talking about, if you're them. Shrunken heads. You could fight somebody with a goddamn shrunken head. I mean, come on. How much... Just that alone makes me want to play it. But the fact that it includes all of these different types, it includes all of the things that will help start... So it'll help out with somebody starting a game, because it even said for itself, it is a fantasy role-playing game aimed at tabletop gamers of just about any skill level, and it uses its own unique D6 system. And the D6 system is basically the same system that most Dungeons and Dragons games run on, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I will double check that in a bit. Actually, I'll check that right now. Because I cannot remember for the life of me what system it uses. Let's see, what system that's not how you spell does. The first three searches, this is a side note, the first three searches for what system does is what system does the spleen belong to, what system does the liver belong to, and what system does the heart belong to. Alright, I'm getting sidetracked. What system does that's not Dungeons and Dragon. That's yes. Okay, uses the D20 system. My apologies. It's Deadlands that uses the D6 system. That's right. And the D6 system is basically you basically use D6s for everything. Like in Deadlands, you roll. You have a certain hold on one second. Somebody messaged me on the Fosse books. Alright, there we go. Yeah, it's the D6. So it's basically runs like Deadlands. You guys have heard me talk about Deadlands with the D6 system. It's basically you have you put down the certain I don't know if it's going to be using cards like Deadlands does, but with Deadlands you use cards. You pull out a card. Depending on that card, you get to use X D something, like 5D10 or 4D8. So I guess definitely that. I'm fucking with myself right now. Deadlands doesn't even use the D6 system. I can't think of what system I've played that uses the D6 system. Because I've played a lot of systems. Don't get me wrong. I've played with the D6 system before. Can't remember which game it was. But the D6 system is where you use the D6, the 6-sided die, a D6 as it's called, obviously, for all of your rolls, for attack rolls, damage rolls, to hit rolls, all that type of stuff. And it makes it really, really easy for a new player to get into this. Because you don't have to worry about learning all of the dice and what kind of dice you have to roll for this. You just need one set of dice, and you just need a bunch of D6s. I mean, it won't hurt to have all the other dice, because I don't know what else this game entails. It was just announced for a Kickstarter. It was announced May 30th, so it was announced on Thursday. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, I'm just really stoked for this game. And like I was saying, it really makes it easy for a new game master to get into it, which is honestly what the RPG landscape needs. I know there's a shit ton of people that are within the RPG landscape, don't get me wrong, but specifically the role-playing landscape. And role-playing as in tabletop role-playing, RPGs and whatnot. And no, Magic the Gathering does not count as a RPG. It counts as a card game. Okay? An RPG is a game where you act out the characters. You are your character. You play with a group of friends who are playing their characters, and you immerse yourself in the game. Alright? Magic the Gathering is a card game where it's a deck building card game where you spend a shit ton of money to buy cards to fight against your friends and other people within like tournaments and shit like that. And then that's it. You just basically see who has the better deck. It's basically just one big size competition, if you know what I mean. My deck's bigger than yours. Yeah, well, my deck's stronger than yours. Yeah, well, mine was more expensive. Wait, what? But yeah. So that was one of the biggest things that stuck out to me, was the fact that it's so much easier for somebody who wants to get into the tabletop role-playing scene and know how to do it, because it says that it includes an NPC and treasure generator, so you don't have to really come up with them on your own unless you want to. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're new, that helps. There's monster creation kits, which also help. And I mean, it even comes with the 5 core rule books, which means there's a lot of rules to this. 2 play mats, 40 sheets for both heroes and enemies, ability and trait cards, 40 of them, 216 shards to represent your character. It provides you with everything you need to start off a role-playing game. I mean, I even though how much this game looks fucking amazing, I would still recommend you start off, if you want to get into tabletop and you like fantasy. I would still recommend, as would some of the other people I game with, I would recommend you start off with Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition or even Pathfinder, because those are those are 2 of the easiest games I've ever run and played at in my I don't know, what the fuck is it, like 7 years of role playing at this point. Yeah, I would recommend that. But there's nothing wrong if you want to start off with this, because it does make it easy for you to start off. And the only thing, one of the things I'm noticing is that this game's character creation must take for fucking ever. 'Cause I mean, 200 traits. You've got 40 hero classes. All of these, you got 25 different weapons. And it's just fucking amazing. I love it. A lot of people don't like how long it takes to create characters in like Dungeons and Dragons and Deadlands and whatnot, especially Deadlands. I've had a lot of people tell me that the character creation in Deadlands is rather long. But that's because there's so much unique stuff in there, like the edges and hindrances that I think I went over in the last episode of the podcast that I posted on my main channel, Cool Mama Jamma 33. Not 33 anymore, it's just Cool Mama Jamma. I took away the 33. But there's edges and hindrances, and there's so many unique ones in there, and each have their own ups and downs that you have to be careful and listen to what each edge and hindrance entails, and pick the ones that will help you the most or screw you over the least, you know. And this is a prime example. This game is a prime example of it. It's a prime example, it's a prime example of what I love about long character creations, is that there's so much stuff that you can use, and it helps you. It makes the game deeper, you know. It makes your character more in depth. There's so many things that can give your character more life, and it'll actually help you sink your teeth in becoming the character. And it can help you make your character badass, you know. And it's I mean just the 3 classes that it shows you out of the 40 is astrologist, engineer, and ninja. I don't know about you guys, but I think playing fucking ninja would be cool. It's possible that it shows me more. It'll tell us more at the Kickstarter, which I could probably bring up relatively quickly. Yeah, let me bring that up real quick. And I don't really want to type that name in because it's really fucking long. Okay. Heroes of Asteria Fantasy Kickstarter. That I hit the caps lock, not the A. Here we go. There's a video to it, which I'm not going to play right now because you guys won't be able to hear it, and it'll fucking breach my eardrums. Let's see if it tells me anything. Oh, it tells me the story. That's fucking dope. Lore and setting flexibility. Wow, they go over through a lot. There's gameplay. This is something I'll go over first, is the gameplay. And that is that, let's see. It says, and I quote, Heroes of Asteria is played like a traditional role-playing game, pencil, paper, and dice. You'll have one person lead the narrative, the GM or the DM, whatever you call it, while others create, control, and role-play out their heroes. They suggest for optimal gameplay, you play with 3 to 5 players, which is 1 GM and 2 to 4 heroes if you want. Have at least one person, ideally the game master, thoroughly read all of the books and learn the system well. Once learned, it is very easy to teach. Play at a large table with plenty of room, especially if you bought the full version. And bookmarks are important. So if there's an important section like character creation stuff and whatnot, they highly recommend that you bookmark it, and I do too, considering there's 5 fucking core rule books. It uses the D6 system, as we've already gone over. Goes on to list the 5 core rule books: the basic rule book, which is the basic mechanics of the game; the advanced rule book, where you can use additional rules and contents and whatnot. There's the character creation, the class book, and the GM book. There's an entire book dedicated to the classes. That is fucking epic. Okay, I don't think you guys know how big of a deal this is, because not only does it... Whoops, I hit my mic. Not only does it, A, mean that there's a shit ton of kick-ass classes, but it also means, B, you know exactly where the classes are. It's not like Dungeons and Dragons. Don't get me wrong, I love Dungeons and Dragons. But it's not like Dungeons and Dragons where you have to flip through half the book just to get to the classes, and there's only like 4 or 5 pages of the classes, because there's not a lot of classes unless you get the expansions, and in which case you have to go through another book halfway through to find the classes. So I mean, that's just fucking amazing. It even go on to say here, similar games use a couple of 200 to 400 page rule books. Our advantage here is that you read multiple books are easier to share, easier to look through, and overall quicker to read, which I agree with. Wizards of the Coast, eat your fucking heart out. All right, you guys need to do this with your next game. If they come up with the next game, that is. I'm not entirely sure. I follow them on Twitter. I bookmarked their actual website, and I haven't really seen anything Wizards of the Coast wise. I mean, I have seen some of the stuff that they've been tweeting out about them live streaming at like a live event or some shit like that. But you know, and then the localized damage. This is something that I absolutely love in a role-playing game. Because it does it in Deadlands, and me and all my players fucking love it when this happens in Deadlands, because it just kind of makes the game more immersive. You know, because when you're swinging a bladed guitar at somebody, you're not necessarily... You're aiming for something. And it helps... I mean, yeah, you can call out shots, obviously. But, when you're swinging a bladed guitar at somebody, you're generally not caring what part of the body they hit, but you're hoping for something bad. And it usually takes a toll on them, and it's just amazing. All right, I just love it. There are 3 areas of the body that you can hit somebody in. There's head wounds, upper body wounds, and lower body wounds. Head wounds hinder the use of certain abilities. Upper body wounds hinders attacks, and lower body wounds hinders movements. And there's fucking elements in this game, you guys. The elemental stack system adds tons of flavor to combat, as well as rock paper scissors, as well as a rock paper scissors aspect. Enemies are typically immune to 2 to 3 status effects, so you won't always be able to rely on the same one element. There's acid, fire, lightning, ice, earth, wind, water, trauma, aka blood and force, light, darkness, and poison. This is amazing. There's effects with each of the elements too. You've got dissolve, burning, stun, frost, slow, knockback, blind, and poison. You could probably put those together with each of those. Status effects can gain cumulative stacks, with enough stacks to become fatal. So what they're saying is that you can constantly freeze somebody to the point where they literally freeze to death. You can blind somebody to death, and I find that to be fucking great. There's holy and unholy powers that fall under the element of the almighty damage and Asteria. These 2 powers are on the opposite ends of the same spectrum, or straw, if you will. So basically, it's like, if you're thinking of D&D terms, it's basically cleric, and sorcerer. You know, basic ends of the spectrum. Let's see, it goes on to the crafting. Crafting is simplified and incredibly useful. Quality materials, emphasis on quality, can be converted into units, which can then be repurposed into just about anything. In short, dwarven canister technology. Crafting consists of 3 main units: alchemical units, material units, and technological units. Those are identified as well as A.U, M.U, and T.U. Units can then be turned into useful consumable items or gadgets, such as health potions, throwing knives, Tesla rods. And then you get into the attributes, which are basically the same thing as D&D: Constitution, Agility, Strength, Willpower, Intellect, and Charisma. Willpower is a different one, but I'm pretty sure it's basically just your wisdom. Spell armor, minion mastery, yeah, it's basically your wisdom. There's the character creation, step by step. You pick a race, pick a primary and a subclass, with 40 classes in all. Like I said, so chances are there's 20 primary and 20 subclass, which that makes the most sense because, you know, even things. But I don't know. There could be fucking 30 primary classes and 10 subclasses. There could be 10 primary classes and 30 subclasses. I don't know. All I know is that it's amazing. Then you pick your starting gear with the 25 weapons and shields to choose from. Then starting consumable items. Then you get to pick hero level 1 rewards, which are basically your ability. It's the part where you're able to learn abilities and spend the attribute points that you get with your character. And then it shows pictures of some of the classes, I guess, in the game, or races, I think. Not sure. They look fucking weird though. Like there's some like fish lady, a cat, some Dr. Manhattan, I guess, Caesar from War of the Apes or some shit like that, a Mad Max Goblin, 1950s German, 1940s German doctor, and there's only one that looks relatively normal, and he looks like a fucking dwarf. So I mean, there's a girl with a head on with horns. So I mean, I don't know. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's a lot. I mean, I guess from the looks of it, they could be the celestial beings, I guess you could say, like your astrological signs and whatnot, you know, Aquarius, Taurus, Scorpio, all that shit. And then it goes on to tell you how do you get experience, and there's the class system, which I will also talk about, because it's I guess the same as D&D. Your primary subclass, hold on, I should probably read it from the beginning. In Heroes of Asteria, the class system is not as strict as one might assume. It exists to give you a helpful start and a role to fill upon creation. After that, there are plenty of ways for you to learn abilities and classes outside of your own. Your primary and subclass determine your force break, your ultimate ability. Your starting items and what abilities you can inherently learn upon. Simply put, at the following levels you'll learn. At level 1, 2 primary subclass abilities and 1 subclass ability. Level 2, 1 ability from either your primary or subclass. Level 3 is 1 ability from any class of your choice. Level 4 is 1 ability from any class of your choice. And level 5 is any 1 ability from any class of your choice, etc. So it looks like after level 2 you get to pick 1 ability from any class you want. So I'm assuming that includes both primary and subclass, which basically means you can be a combination of everything, you know? And that looks like it creates such kick-ass characters. And then we're at the creme de la creme. I think I said that right. Or the meat and potatoes. Or we're the juicy part. Or whatever you want to say. The 40 playable classes. There are 40 classes to mix and match. Many of these classes offering interesting synergies among each other. There are melee fighters, which include Berserker, Monk, Night Lasher, Ninja, Samurai, Soldier, Tempest, Warrior, and War Beast. Just the melee fighters sound kick-ass. Then you get into the defenders: Guardian, Justicar, Paladin, and Warden. Mages: Acidomancer, Azure Battle Mage, Geomancer, Hydromancer, Invoker, Pyromancer, Sorcerer, and Tinkerer. You basically got you've got elemental mages. Then you got your support classes: Alchemist, Astrologist, Bard, Battle Brother, Captain, Conjurer, Enchanter, High Priest, Low Priest, and Thief. Range characters: Ballista, Decimator, Deckmaster, Gunner, and Hunter. I'm interested to know what a Decimator entails. Then you got Summoners, Druid, Engineer, Jester, and Necromancer. Each class contains flavor and lore, 12 abilities to choose from, their own starting items, 1 Force Break, which is your ultimate ability. Some even have class features, but typically these apply to abilities associated with a class. For example, the Paladin class feature is to choose one of 8 paths. You can choose the Path of Flames. Your Paladin ability now associates them with the status effect of Burning. So you've basically got your character who you create your own fucking lore, you know? Then you got the Game Master tools. Obviously, I went over them. You got the loyalty system, bonus tokens, NPC generator, enemy creation kit, all that good stuff. And then it goes into a bunch of stuff about the Kickstarter. I'm gonna go over some of the stuff about the company. Silent Candle Games. That's trademarked, by the way. You cannot take that. Consists of a married couple and numerous volunteers. Our goal is to offer a unique and rewarding experience to the role players this game might appeal to. We've been fortunate enough to have some of the coolest people play our games. One of the best times we had was when the previous owner of the fort, Preston Skinner, shut down the store early so he could continue playtesting with us late into the night, well after close, and early into the morning. There's a quote. Then it goes into the creators, and gives some backstory on them. Goes into some of the volunteers and whatnot that went into it. And this just looks amazing, you guys. I am pumped for this. I hope that this Kickstarter gets to what it needs to in order to be able to become a thing. Because, oh baby, this just seems... it did. It did make it to it. Their goal was 2,000. They got 2,900 from 32 backers. They almost made $1,000 more than they needed. I am not the only one that's pumped for this game. Let's see. There was one more thing that I wanted to go over with you guys. Before we got into it, the setting. It's the story. The story is a high fantasy with a dash of apocalypse and steampunk. So basically combine D&D and Deadlands. Heroes of Asteria takes place in an alternate universe where Earth has fused with a nearby planet, the magical planet of Abyssia. This event was known as the Fusion and only an intense, unfathomable magic could make such an event possible. Possible does not mean safe, however. The fusion brought foreign magic, evil ecosystems, and elements into the land. Furthermore, it flooded certain areas with the planet with radiation. Now hellish creatures and feral mutants roam the land, while safe food and water are scarce. This event took place during the mid-1700s, right before the Industrial Revolution, forever changing Earth's take on technology. Now, 300 some years later, technology has taken on an early clockwork-styled route, with a hint of modern to advanced steampunk. Since the 1700s, some generations of humans underwent rapid mutation, an odd effect of magic amplifying radiation. Dwarves, elves, goblins, and a few other races are the byproduct of this effect. Therefore, the ancestry of many traditional races can be traced back to humans. The lore and setting flexibility. While this game does provide sufficient story, we keep the lore light and unobtrusive. In fact, you'll find that most of our rulebook is straight to the point with minimal fluff. The game's story can be ignored and played in any setting from early medieval to late sci-fi. There is a section for this in the advanced rulebook. Don't worry, we still offer plenty of lore where it counts, we just don't push it. What matters most is this game is flexible enough to allow you to play the kind of game you want. Holy shit. Okay. So they basically give you two different universes to play in. You know, you can play in fantasy or sci-fi, or you can do what they did and mesh the two together. And that is fucking awesome. Like, you could be in a medieval world with a bladed with a bladed guitar. Like, you can have a guitar axe fighting a goddamn goblin, or you could be using a crossbow, like you use a medieval crossbow to fight like space pirates or something like that. I don't. It just seems amazing, and I am definitely going to get this game when it comes out. You can count on that. Quote me on that all you want. I will be getting this game. Renavion, I know you're listening to this while you're playing a game of some sort, because that is what you do with my videos. Don't think I don't know. But I hope you're listening to this, and I hope you guys are able to find a way to get this game, because it just the light version. That's all you need is the light version. Because chances are when this game comes out, you can find the character sheets online and you can print them out. Just like everybody does with D&D. So, I'm hoping that you guys are able to get this game and we can play it with the entire group. If not, I will gladly, and I mean gladly, buy this game and run it for the group. Not even joking. Renavion, I know you would like that idea because that means you won't have to come up with anything. But yeah, I am extremely pumped for this game, if it wasn't already obvious. It's just, I haven't been this excited for a role-playing game since I first started role-playing. And it's, I don't know, I have a feeling that it's just going to be so worth it in the end. Like, I will get my money's worth because of it. So it's just, then for our last little tidbit here, there is another role-playing game that was announced that was put up on Kickstarter on May 29th, 2018, called The Peasant's Fell Bargain, an original DCC compatible zero-level funnel. This is taken directly from the Kickstarter. The Peasants Fell Bargaining is a zero-level adventure compatible with Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game. Available to print or PDF and featuring 28 action-packed pages, this fully illustrated adventure inspired by classic horror tales will put your peasants to the ultimate test as they search for the Lord Centaurion's missing son. For generations, your village has lived and worked in the shadows of the Centaurian estate, which sits perched like an ancient bird of prey on a promontory, I don't know, at the edge of the mountains. You eked out a hard living through logging, mining, and planting the rocky Stenorian lands. Each year you made the 3-mile trip up the mountains to pay rent and tribute to the men-at-arms standing watch at the keep's gate. As years went by, and nothing changed. Now Lord Stenorian himself has come, begging for your help. My men are slain, my father is missing, and I have nowhere else to turn. My son Michael is still hiding somewhere in the keep. Find him. Save him. Please do this for me, and I will reward you beyond your wildest imaginings. His eyes burn with a frightening intensity. Hear me. Return my boy to me, and ask what you will. I promise you, if it's in my power, I will grant it. These last words seem to echo inside your minds, as visions of a new future for you and your family float before you. So, this is basically an expansion for the Dungeon Crawl Classics games. And if you don't know what the Dungeon Crawl Classics games are, it's basically a Dungeons and Dragons game based off of modules. It's already pre-created stories and adventures and whatnot, and you just keep going through them. So it's basically Dungeons and it's basically Dungeons and Dragons for people who don't have the time to come up with their own stories. But this sounds cool. I personally don't think I would want to play. Not that I wouldn't want to play it. I just don't think it would be too enjoyable for my style of role playing, at least. Because my style of role playing is like actual role playing. I'm perfectly fine with somebody who wants to like open a store and like sell stuff and run that store and then go on adventures once in a while. I'm perfectly fine with somebody role playing, having like a family and they have to and all that. Like, I like to role play. Don't get me wrong. I love the adventures. I love the fighting and whatnot. But I'm a fan of role playing. Like, if we're on an adventure and we stop in the middle of the camp, I want to, do something. Like if, one of my characters is a dwarven barbarian with a secondary class of bard. If we're a lot of the times when we're camping and we're sitting around the fire, I will start to say that my dwarf starts playing music on his mandolin or whatever, So I've never been a fan of dungeon crawls in general. I've never been a massive fan of pre-created modules, and that's just because I don't find them to be genuine. Not that they're not genuine or anything. I just prefer it when the dungeon master, or the game master, as a lot of people call him. I just prefer it when the person who's running the game created the story, because then they know they can sink their teeth into it. And when the game master sinks their teeth into something, then the players are more than likely going to sink their teeth into something. Which is why I've just never been a fan of modules or dungeon crawls in general, because I just don't like them. Like I said, I love the action part. I love the fighting part of the game as well. I just prefer to do the more role-playing style stuff. But that's just me. A lot of people like to do just the fighting. A lot of people like to do what I do, like to do the role playing part. A lot of people just like to do the fighting part. There are people who just love doing dungeon crawls because they get to fight shit and collect good loot and whatnot. So it's all good fun. But unfortunately, that is where we're gonna have to end it off today. You guys consider it, because we are leading up. We're at the 50-minute mark, and I don't want to go over an hour, and I don't have anything else to talk about for the next 10 minutes, except for this. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this video will be posted up on Cool Mama Jam on my main channel and the RPG Speak channel. Go subscribe to both of them, but only this episode will be posted on the Cool Mama Jamma channel, because this episode right here is going to be a reboot of RPG Speak. This I'm going to make the official episode 1 of RPG Speak. And for now, the podcast will only be up on the RPG Speak channel. Link in the description to it. So if you're on my Cool Mama Jamma channel and you guys want to check it out, go click on the link in the description. It'll take you to the RPG Speak podcast channel, and you can watch it in full there. You can watch all of the podcasts that I do there in full. And like I said, this is going to be the only episode posted on my Cool Mama Jamma channel, just so that way people know that it's going to be on, that I'm doing this, and that it's going to be on a separate channel. Because I know a lot of people expected me to post this on my main channel, and it's not that I don't feel comfortable doing that, it's just that I don't want to oversaturate my channel with role-playing stuff, because I know there's a decent-sized market out there for it, but there's not a massive-sized market out there for it, and I just don't want it clogging up my channel with the flow of things. I've already got the RPG reading series, I've got the History Time series, I've got my random video game clip series. I just don't want to have too much of one thing. So, yeah, this will be over on the RPG Speak channel. I've said that 4 times already, but because I'm really hammering it in there, that you should go check out the second channel. And there's also, I just wanted to give a shout outs. I've given him a shout out this entire fucking podcast. But Renavion over at Damsels and Dingbats, he just posted a video that I know he worked months on, considering I was basically there through the process. I got a sneak peek at what it was. So please go to his channel, check it out. It is an animated concert for his character, Bone Daddy Bob, who is an amazing character, and he pisses me off because he's already more successful than I am in life, just in general, and he's not even real, okay? He's not even a real thing, and he's more successful than I am, and it makes me mad. So yeah, go check him out. You'll probably have to go to the videos part of his channel, because he doesn't have his uploads posted on the front of his channel, because I don't know. So yeah, go check that out. Link in the description to his channel. Also, huge shout out to Casual Respawn again. I gave him a shout out in, I think, my last video or the video before that or something like that. But they have been doing incredible over there, pumping out just kick-ass and hilarious content on the daily, Monday through Friday. They post amazing and hilarious content, and it's just funny. You guys should definitely go over there. I'm in the comments on every single one of their videos. Join me in the comments. It is one hell of a time. I've played Fortnite with one of the creators of the channel, and he's just an amazing guy. And I'm assuming I can only assume and imagine that the other one is an amazing guy. I say the other one because I'm trying to remember which one it was, because it is way too fucking difficult to distinguish who is who at what times. It was Dan. It was Dan that I played Fortnite with. I played with him, Stony Luck, and one of Dan's friends. And Dan is a great guy. He's hilarious, and he's hilarious when they're not recording, and he's hilarious when they are recording. I can only assume that Matt, the other one, is just as cool, just as funny, just as friendly and whatnot. And it's a great time. So definitely go check out their channel. Like I said, join me and Luck at the same time in the comments. We have hilarious conversations with the guys over at Casual Respawn, and it's a great time. So we are 5 minutes away from the 1 hour mark. I have nothing else to talk about, so I'm just going to repeat what I said right when I started this. Check out RPG Speak over on the RPG Speak channel, link in the description. Follow both RPG Speak and Cool Mama Jamma on Twitter. Links to those in the description. And if you're new to the podcast, welcome. We have fun here. So, so also post in the comments below what you guys think about the topics that I discussed today, especially the Heroes of Astaria fantasy RPG. Please let me know your thoughts on it, because I found it to be kick ass, and I can't wait till I'm able to get it. I have never been so hyped for this game in my life. I think the only time I've ever been this hyped for a game would have probably been back when Fallout 4 came out. No, scratch that. Fallout 76, the teaser trailer. I watched that live, and I'm extremely hyped for that too. So I've never been hyped for a tabletop role-playing game this much. Okay, let's leave it at that. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to join the conversation in the comments below. Like I said, discuss anything you want role-playing related. Have debates, have discussions. Just be friendly about it. We're friendly people here, right? Right. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, my name is, as always, Cool Mama Jamma, and you guys are beautiful people. Stay cool. See ya.